As always, from our expert panel, today we are blessed by Robert McTeer, former president of the Dallas Federal Reserve and a CNBC contributor. And we have CNBC senior economics reporter, a.k.a. the great Steve Leisman. Good morning, gentlemen. Bob McTeer, as I read this story, and I read Mr. Paulson's testimony, and I enjoyed it very much, he's basically saying, I put the wood to Ken Lewis in the B of A, and I was right to do so. What's your take?
I agree that that's what he said, and I think that was the right thing to do. And he sort of explained some of these discrepancies that have gone around. He mentioned that the Fed had the authority as the principal regulator of the bank holding company to remove management and the board. And he said it. Ben Bernanke didn't say it. And so no good deed goes unpunished, apparently. I'm a little bit embarrassed for this committee.
Yeah, I think this committee is looking pretty pathetic. Steve Leisman, my thought here is this goofy committee is looking for a needle in the haystack. And you know what, Steve? If they ever found the needle, it would be so rusted as to be completely unusable and unnecessary. What's your reaction?
You know what, Larry? I think it may be worse than that. I think what they're trying to do now, because they really don't have a charge here, is trying to get them to go back and really either perjure themselves or otherwise contradict their testimony, sort of saying, well, you said there is no needle. That's where we're at right now. This issue of did you threaten to remove the management, I think Bob McTeer can tell us it has been and will be in the purview of the regulator to remove the manager under any circumstances, let alone these very dire circumstances that we went through backstage. I am waiting, and I'd like to know what the actual charge is here against Paulson.
All right, we're going to go back in. We have much more to say. We got some steamed up people here. Mr. McTeer, Mr. Leisman, I'm Kudlow. Trish Regan's out there waiting. So is Melissa Francis. Let's go back to the hearings. All right, let me just break in for a second and go to my friend Bob McTeer, CNBC contributor, former head of the Dallas Federal Reserve. Bob, on this issue, I mean, half the committee wants to fire Lewis. The other half committee says he was maltreated with a gun to his head. Where do you come out on this issue?
Well, I think the committee is just really looking bad in this. They're on every side of it. I think that Mr. Paulson ought to get a trophy for his good service. I do not think that Ken Lewis should have been fired. He did what he was supposed to do. Now, whether he should have been fired if he'd gone ahead and invoked that clause and caused the whole financial crisis to flare up again, maybe then. But Paulson's been very frank and clear about that. He just reminded Mr. Lewis that his principal regulator did have that authority. And on your previous conversation with the congressman, I think there was a confusion there. Mr. Lewis found out about the extra losses after the shareholders had voted. He didn't withhold that from them from the shareholder vote. And then at that point, he had that information along with the information that the government was going to make it right and help out. So it was sort of balanced at that point.
All right. So, Bob McTeer, thank you ever so much.